True Gamer here with another episode, and I'm back with another Retro Circle series, and today it's all about the everlasting Nintendo Super Famicom. Okay, for those who don't know, this is a series where I go back into time and take a look at consoles which I had as a kid and consoles which I wish I had as a kid, but I've got them now. Okay, initially this was released in 1992 in the UK, so that's when I should have had it, but I've got it imported a year before in 91, but originally it came out late 1990 in Japan. It was so beneficial to import consoles from Japan in the 90s and even in the 80s because they got their consoles way before the rest of the world. And I mean, you'd have to wait 2-3 years later in some cases. This is what the box would have looked like. Kind of basic but colourful. And the inserts were kind of made out of styrofoam, polystyrene, whatever you want to call it. And it was neatly presented and cut out perfectly for the hardware in its designated compartment. So this is what the presentation would have looked like then, and it's exactly the same as how it looks now. Now, unlike consoles today, companies back then wasn't stingy. They used to give you 2 controllers right out the box day one. Let's take a look at the pads. Check this out, I'll show you one of them. Pads were very attractive with all these dazzling multicolour buttons to hypnotise the kids. Yeah, we just make kids want to just pick one up and play with, or just simply just to hold and admire. And it's the time of M&Ms and Skittles, especially in the UK. They're very popular with the youth, and the multicolour button combinations hold some resemblance to them sweets back in the 90s. And it's definitely revolutionary design with these pads, because they came with 6 buttons as well, as you see it there. Now the ports on the machine, we have RGB SCART here, go from right to left, RGB SCART, so you can connect it up to SCART, and then you have the RF out. Then we have a channel switch, that's to go with the RF out. I never ever used that function really. And then we got the AC adapter port inside there on the far left. That's where your power would go. And then obviously here, guys, is where you would put the cartridges. You have eject, you have power, and you have reset. And when it's on, this light will glitter and glow. And as you see there, guys, it says Nintendo Super Famicom, printed in fine prints. I've got to say, this power adapter was huge, and it does weigh a hefty amount. And I was lucky enough to get the system manuals that came with it. It's always nice to achieve something like this, just to make your collection complete. And it just shows you how to operate the system. And again, I've got a little SCART block thing which you plug into the TV, and you can convert it to SCART, or you can just plug it in on a standalone basis. But yeah, that's one way of connecting it up to your TV. But if you want to really push the boat out like me, now this right here is really special. It's a retro game-changing cable, and it's made by Hyper King. And what this does, it allows you to play Super Famicom games in HD. So full, glorious, high definition quality. and it makes a massive difference, believe me. And this is a 3-in-1, as you can see, so I can also hook this up with an N64 and a GameCube, because they share the same ports. So this cable is highly recommended for those retro gamers that still play on old hardware. Before I go on, let me just explain something. Now, the English version looks no different to the Japanese version. Only difference is, instead of it saying Super Famicom, it had Super Nintendo. It's the only difference. But it was exactly the same prints, multicolored button joypad and all that, so no change. But the American Super Famicom / Super Nintendo, what it was called, had a whole new makeover, and it looked like this. It looked like a completely different machine. Just check that out. Ports were identical on the back, nothing changed there. But many thought this looked horrendous, which back in the day I did agree. The Japanese and UK machine looked much more appealing to the eye. But over time, this definitely grew on me, and many people preferred this one because the US version, you could mod it and you can play all regions without having to buy an adapter. Because even in the early 90s, mid 90s, the adapters were a bit pricey, you know. They were expensive back then. But yeah, as you see it there, it has the power, has the eject, and it has the reset button there. And this light would glow up here when it's on, and obviously when it's off, no lights will light up. And then this is where you put the cartridges. They used to tinker with something in there to make you be able to put the Japanese cartridges in there. So vice versa as well. Japanese could play Americans if you manage to get the cartridge in. But as I'm going to show you in a minute, the American cartridges were humongous. One more thing, the controllers were just the same, just different color palettes, and the cord was much longer. Just check that out. So people preferred to get this, but the colors were a bit dull with how it looks. The Japanese and the UK version look much better. But if you compare this to the Japanese cord, it was like triple in size. No, let me just show you. Just check out the size difference, guys. With the Japanese cords, which is on my right, you have to literally be right next to your TV and machine. You couldn't just slouch back on the couch right at the back of the room like you could with this. Look at that. Look at the difference. Much thicker as well, much longer. I'll say it's about, yeah, nearly triple the size really compared to this. So grabbing yourself the American version had its minuses and definitely had its pluses. Anyway, let's get back to the topic in hand. Just check out this box of gaming delights. Look at that. Packed with pure Super Famicom cardboard treasury. Just look at that. More than enough nostalgia material to get your memory clock ticking and whiz you back, right back to the golden glory retro days, because I solemnly swear these games will never die. They will live They will live on forever, unlike the new age digital games era. You got this, you own this. Ain't no one taking it away. And as you see, to make these live even longer, I've got these plastic protective cases which you can protect the cardboard, because the cardboard gets worn away very easily if it's out in the open. But yeah, this is well protected. I've got them on most games. I've got only one single cart for the Super Famicom, and I've only got one game for the American, which I'm going to show you now. But first of all, let's just take a look at all my Famicom games which I have. Okay, let me pan the camera on a bird's eye view and show you all the games which I own, to show you how the cartridges and manuals and box arts were designed for this particular machine. Now, some of these games are sentimental, some are classics, and some are expensive, and some are just all three of what I said rolled into one. Now, this is one particular one which cost a bit. Senkenku. This, if it's box complete like that, is very expensive. Also, this can be expensive completed, Darius Twin. And that, my friends, is Super Castlevania 4. Got Mickey and Minnie Adventures, I think. Super Mario World is a must-have for all Super Famicom owners back in them days. And if I come round here, Musha. Game can cost you quite a bit, box complete. My favourite, one of my first RPGs I ever played on this machine, or JRPG, and that is Go Man the Warrior. In other words, in the West, Legend of the Mystical Ninja. Then we have this, Cho Makamura, other words known as Super Ghouls and Ghosts, and once again, once completed, can cost quite a bit of money. Then we have Super Mario Collection, which is very good. It has Super Mario 1, 2 and 3, and I think Super Mario World in some cases. World Soccer, and yeah, that's about it. Oh, we've got Super Formation Soccer. This game brings back a lot of memories. Memories of some... Now, these games are top of the pecking order, and I call them the classic platinum games, which every Super Famicom gamer would have been mandated to play back then, if they want to call themselves a gamer. Now, first off, we have Super Formation Soccer here, otherwise known as Super Soccer in the West. Super Castlevania 4, must own, must play. Also, Cho Makamura, Super Ghouls and Ghosts. Then we have Legend of the Mystical Ninja. In Japanese it's called Go Man the Warrior. And obviously Super Mario World. Classic, epic, legendary, all in one. This game here, I think the majority of Super Nintendo, Super Famicom players, when they first received their system, they would have wanted this. Now, there's another game which I would recommend, which was my first game, and that was Final Fight. But unfortunately, I haven't got a copy of Final Fight, but I'm definitely going to invest in one. But yeah, guys, them games are the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we'll say Final Fight 6. Yeah guys, that's a look at my Super Famicom games collection. Now it isn't groundbreaking, but for me it's enough. Okay, now I've showed you what the Japanese boxes and cartridges and manuals look like. Now I'm going to show you what the UK version looks like. Now this is what the box, the UK game boxes would look like. And there's the back. It's completely different, as you can see. This is in portrait mainly, but you do get some in landscape in the Japanese games library. But for the Super Nintendo, it was mainly landscape. That's the view you was getting with all the artwork. And it's the same with the American as well. I haven't got an American box, but it's literally the same as the UK, how it was presented. The only difference is we have these kind of looking cartridges for the American system, and as you see here, the UK is identical to the Japanese. Mirror image. But obviously you just can't play Jap games in the UK Super Nintendo machines. And the manuals were a bit more bigger, and some would say more vibrant with colours and the artwork in more detail, but I prefer how the Japanese manuals and the boxes are much more better. And unlike the Japs, you got some cardboard insert trays, and the Japanese version's got the plastic trays. Say the American, so the cartridge was unique in every single way, from hardware and the software. And this is an excellent game, by the way, Choplifter 3, highly recommended if you got one of these systems. I advise you to go and play this straight away. Now, they made so many accessories for this machine, I'm barely scratching the surface with the peripherals I own. But yeah, this is the Capcom arcade stick, and this is what the box looks like. This is the original, guys, made from Capcom. They used to do wonders back in the day with not only software, they used to do a lot of hardware as well. Now, this arcade stick is still an impressive bit of accessory history. It still looks sexy up until this day. Now, I think Capcom should start fabricating accessories again. Now, to have this with this machine, the arcade stick and the buttons were designed to perfection, and when playing back in the 90s, it would have made you feel like you was actually in the arcade parlour. The buttons were nice and springy and felt very satisfying to press. Joystick was robust and sturdy, and yeah, like I say, Capcom never fail to give products a flashy look. And when I say flashy look, it's giving a little split effect, which is unique compared to the rest of the arcade sticks back in them days. So yeah, as you see there, we have start select, got a turbo mode here, see, got turbo mode, and we got the 6 classic buttons for Street Fighter fanatics there. And yeah, you just can turn the turbo on and off, and on the back, the ports. I know one of them was to connect up to your system with this fine cable here. And then we got the Capcom logo at the top of the arcade stick. And you as well and prepared to start doing some 2D fighting, mainly for Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, back then anyway. But there you have it, guys, the Capcom Power Stick Fighter, that's what it's called. It's got a unique touch even on the cable. We've got the Capcom logo. Solid the build, so when you've actually put it down and you're playing your fighting games, it won't really move anywhere as long as it's on a firm level surface. You'll be okay. Unfortunately, I haven't got the original box, but this accessory would have been a must-have, and it's designed mainly for the UK and the Jap machines. And this, my friends, is called a universal adapter, and it looked like that. It had slots for the top, and you've also had a slot at the back. Now, depending on what machine you had, the slots will play a major part. Now, this is a Jap machine. Now, if I wanted to play with, say, a US game, I would slot in the universal adapter like so. I'll get my Jap game, because this is a Jap machine. So if this was a UK machine, I would have a UK cartridge, and I would have to insert the cartridge at the back, and whatever other region I wanted to play, we put it on the top, and it will look something like this. This is the US version of Super Mario World. So that's how it would have looked, guys. To bypass the region lock. And it also works for if I wanted to play a PAL game, I'll just put the PAL cartridge on the top. So that's it, having this. So having a Jap machine like I do would allow me to play US and UK games with this magical adapter. And it even came with some original paperwork. As I see here, we have, what do we have here? Oh, we have a diagram. And it looks like that. And there's instructions on how to set it up. And it also includes a little pamphlet, a little leaflet, and it's giving you details about the product. Now they've even got some special adapters. This is just, I think, for the system, Super Nintendo system they've thrown in. But yeah, they've got, you can get a thing called Action Replay. It looks exactly the same, but it comes equipped with cheat codes and stuff like that. That's it, guys. We have the universal adapter, a must-have. Next up, we have another accessory which is not a must-have, more like a novelty, but I just had to have it. As a collector and a fan of the handheld, this is the Super Game Boy, and I've got to say it's in super fabulous condition. Comes with all of its box and inserts, and more importantly, guys, we have a user manual which is all in Japanese, so it's impossible for me to read it, but it's wonderful to look at. Check out these exclusive diagrams and illustrations for the meantime. Yep, we have the manual, which is not rocket science to figure out what it's all about. But anyway, this is what it looks like. It's just one gigantic cartridge with a Game Boy slot cartridge at the top, and it says I've got some Super Game Boy fonts on the front, along with a Nintendo logo engraved just above it. I'm going to demonstrate to you exactly what it would look like if you was to have this back in the mid-90s or whenever it came out. You would have your machine like so. You would input what shall I say, insert your Superboy massive cartridge, and then obviously you would need a Game Boy cartridge, and it opens like so. Had it in the wrong way, and then you put your Game Boy in like that, and then bosh, you would have been now ready to play your Game Boy on a big screen. Now this only works for the original Game Boy games. The Game Boy Color, you would need the version 2 of this, and I do not have it present because I don't even own a Game Boy Color. I do have an original Game Boy though, and I must add guys, for its age, this looks pretty mint. Hardly any yellow in, which many of these Super Famicom cartridges fall victim to. So I'm pretty pleased with that. So that's it, the Super Game Boy. Play your Game Boy games on your TV. And yeah, you also get more colour with this compared to what you're used to with the original Game Boy projecting out the black and green pixels. So it has a lot of pluses with this. Super Game Boy. So yeah, Super Famicom is retro gaming at its finest. Definitely makes my top 5. My top 5 old school consoles of all time. My first, I have to say, is Neo Geo Advanced Entertainment System. Not the CD or the Neo Geo X. The Neo Geo AES is my top. And then I'll say second, my Dreamcast. First time playing House of the Dead 2 with the light gun absolutely blew my mind. And then third, I would say the PS2. Started getting heavily into my JRPGs and RPGs back then. Although I played a lot on the Super Famicom, that's when I really appreciated the RPG genre. And then fourth will be this little baby here, Super Famicom, for so many different reasons. First, I was at the beginning of the generation really, because I had it imported. I got it a year earlier, although Japan had it a year before that. Yeah, and I just basically watched it blossom and grow, and the catalogue variety of games are just insane from start of the generation to the finish. Like Final Fight, Super Mario World was my first games. Go Man, The Warrior came next. Then I bought Street Fighter, which was record breaking. People went absolutely crazy for this. It just overtook every arcade business back then. People were just swarming around the Street Fighter arcade machines. And yeah, basically Super Famicom just kept shining. And I also got memories of Super Soccer. It's just unbeatable, Super Soccer. The amount of battles I had on that game. And then I'll say fifth, though there's many that could take this place, I have to give this place a spot, and that is the Sega Master System. And yeah, that is the Sega Master System, always gonna be included because it holds a special place in my heart. And one of the reasons being that it was my first ever console, playing Shinobi, Alex Kidd, Altered Beast, Vigilante, the hockey game, Slapshot. Yeah, I'd always include the Sega Master System. And not only that, it had some epic RPGs which I didn't really understand back then because I was a bit too young. I think that was the starting. Okay guys, if you like the video, give me a thumbs up. Even better, subscribe. Till next time, see ya.